Okay, stop me if you've heard this one before, okay? A monkey, a leopard, a giraffe, and a dragon walk into a bar, okay? The monkey orders some delicious whole milk. The leopard orders some delicious roasted pigeon, and the giraffe orders a banana. Now, the dragon, you know what he orders? Nothing, because he didn't walk into the bar, because he's at the zoo 10 miles down the road instead. It's a One Piece joke, because, you know, Zoro always gets lost. I guess Zoro's a dragon. Zoro has a lot of techniques named after animals. He could be a tiger. He could be a demon, I guess, because onigiri. But that was the joke. Yeah, nobody really becomes a YouTuber because they're great at stand-up comedy. Anyway, today's video, we're going to be talking about CP0, formerly CP9, but CP0, joining up with the Straw Hats in a combo move that's going to make all combo moves, all right? I really want to see that. I really do. I don't know if this alliance is going to stick or if anything else is going to happen. Like the Straw Hats are already bringing a bunch of the Vegapunks with them on the Sunny, if they can actually find the Stella body. Like, I'm assuming everything might work out by the end of Egghead. They get all the satellites, they get the Stella body, maybe Bonnie will come along, whatever. They all hop on the Sunny already. Why not bring, I mean, Stussy's coming along, I guess, too, so why not bring Lucci and Kaku, and they all just, like, they just end up, like, with the Straw Hats until they reach Laugh Tale. Like, okay, that'd be weird, but I'd be alright with that. I'd be okay with that. But I want to see the combo move. I want to see the combo move. I want to see Luffy, Kaku, and Lucci all in their awakening forms using some crazy powerful attack. I want to see Zoro using Conquerors with Enma. I want to see all of that, all right? So, last chapter, chapter 1075, the ending of it, we have the Seraphim arriving in the control room. Shaka is issuing them an order to stand down. They are not listening, so therefore that means there's a traitor in your midst. Midst. Is it mist or midst? Yeah, I think there's a D in there. There's always a D. That's what it comes back to One Piece, okay? So, the idea that Shaka comes up with is there's another Vegapunk, or one of the other Vegapunks is issuing the order to attack, you know, everybody, okay? Specifically the Cypher Pool Zero, because Zoro mentions that when they were defending Kaku and Lucci, because they were still knocked out by Stussy's, you know, fangs, her you know, kiss technique, let's just call it that. You know, they were down and they were unconscious and they couldn't fight back, and even if they were conscious, they still have their Karyoseki, the sea prism, so they couldn't fight. So Zoro was like, hey, they're specifically coming after the Cypher Pole Zero, okay? So that means these Seraphim were probably issued an order along the lines of eliminate Cypher Pole Zero and anybody that gets in your way. But Cypher Pole Zero is the main target, all right? That's what they're going after right now. So, as I said, Shaka thinks it's another member of the satellites. I'm thinking it could be like a 7th Vegapunk or Vegapunk Satellite Zero that was like in stasis. Maybe Caribou woke it up by accident or something like that. A lot of people are also under the impression it could be St. J. Garcia, like he has arrived at the lab, and Shaka just didn't consider that as a possibility. It didn't even, like, you know, occur to him that, like, it could be one of the Gorosei because they cannot issue orders over the Den Den Mushi, and the prospect of one of the Gorosei leaving Marijois and actively traveling all the way to Egghead to issue an order to the Seraphim in person is so absurd to Shaka, he didn't even consider it as a possibility. A lot of people have said the silhouettes of the individual that was blocking out all of the Den Den Mushis, like taking out all of the cameras, looked exactly like St. J. Garcia. They like, oh my god, Tekking, it's so obvious. The silhouette, it's the hat, it's the beard, it's the dreadlocks. He's Judge Dreadlocks. He looks exactly like in the actual, like, silhouette. And I don't know, guys. I was looking at the silhouette. I don't know if it was one of those magic eye things where I was looking at it for too long, but I'm like, I don't know, like, kind of. It just kind of looks like an amorphous blob to me. You know, I guess it could be. I mean, he's heading toward the island. The idea of St. J. Garcia, though, one of the Gorosei just landing on the island, and then I guess, you know, he's in control of everything, so he could just issue an order to Kizaru and the Marines, like, I'll take care of this one. You know, I don't want you guys bothering me. I'm gonna go deal with this directly. And then you just have one of the Gorosei just, you know, like, cowboying up and then just going through the entire their lab. And like, how did he even get in the lab? I guess because unless the traitor's working with the Gorosei, I don't know. But that's not really what we're here to talk about today. The point is the Seraphim are directly going after Cypher Pole Zero, and so at that point, Kaku and Lucci wake up. They're still bound by the Karyoseki, and they say, hey, Luffy, Zoro, let's just let bygones be bygones. These Seraphim are coming after us. We don't certainly want to die, so let us go, and how about we do a little bit of an alliance? How about we have a team-up moment, right? And then at that moment, Luffy and Zoro strike their Wano faces, and they're like disgusted by the prospect of working with their former enemies. You know, Luffy and Lucci were just fighting it out like not even that many, not like a couple hours ago or whatever. So, yeah, but I do think they're going to release them. I don't think it's going to be an issue with that. I don't think Luffy and Zoro are going to be happy about the idea, but as Zoro says, you know, he was defending Lucci and Kaku because they couldn't fight, because that's more of just like Zoro's code of honor. So Zoro might just not like it, but he's like, okay, well, it's either we let you go, we free you from the Karyoseki, and you can fight on your own, or I have to constantly, you know, fight the Seraphim because I have to make sure that you don't get hurt. So it's just more practical to let them go, okay? So let's address how exactly this team up would go, all right? Because there's actually a lot of different facets to this. It's not as simple as just Lucci and Kaku are the enemies of the Straw Hats, therefore how dare they team up, you know? It's like, after we're done with this team up, we're going our separate ways. That could be how it goes. However, I am reminded of the Cypher Pole 9 independent report. I keep going back to this because it's a big deal that needs to be addressed, okay? I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I made a whole video about that, but at the end of the CP9 independent report, it seemed like they were going rogue. It seemed like they go back to their original island where they were taken as orphans, essentially, to be trained to be Cypher Pole agents. They go back to that island. One of the Marines, Captain Berrygood, the dude with the berry fruit, arrives to capture them. The CP9 team up. They defeat Berrygood and all of his crew, his fleet, and then they steal his ship and they sail off into the great blue yonder. And the end of the Cypher Pole 9 independent report is a line where Lucci basically says, he kind of reports to Spondine and Spondum that one day we shall return, and then they just sail away. Now, that was 2 years ago. Now, cut to after the time skip where now Lucci and Kaku and Khalifa and Blueno are all members of Cypher Pole Zero, and Spondum is even a member of Cypher Pole Zero. So, like, what happened in the 2 years? You could just say that the government finally caught up to CP9, and they approached them, and they said, listen, you know, you are betraying the government. You have one chance here. You know, you can either be our enemies for the rest of your lives, or you could join Cypher Pole Zero because you're very clearly strong, okay? It's almost like the government did not want to just give up Lucci and Kaku and their power and everything like that. They didn't, like, okay, the idea of them going rogue and maybe turning pirate, maybe joining the Revolutionary Army, that is too much of a threat. So how about we offer them a position at Cypher Pole Aegis Zero? It's just like, we'll just treat this as a little bit of an act of rebellion, not a big deal. If you come back and work for us, then we'll let bygones be bygones there, okay? Now, I do not think that after the whole events of Enies Lobby and after the whole events of the CP9 independent report, that Lucci and Kaku and everybody are just going to be like, okay, yeah, let's just go back working for the government. It's fine. It's what we've been doing our whole lives. We don't have anything else to do, right? I don't think it's about that. I really don't. I always thought that Lucci and Kaku and everybody are sort of playing a little bit of a long game with the government. Maybe eventually they were going to betray them in a bigger way and escape. I don't think it's anything like the Cypher Pole Zero, like Kaku and Lucci are like allied with Revolutionary Army. Like, oh yeah, let's, you know, get into the world government, find out what they know, and then report back to Dragon or anything. I don't think it's anything like that. But I think it's they ultimately want to be freed from the government's chains. I really get that after the CP9 independent report, when we really got a feel for how they operate, you know, like just on their days off. You know, if you read that cover series, it's like the CP9 is kind of like one big family because it's really the only family they have. They're essentially all orphans. I guess technically Kumadori is not an orphan because we actually do know about his mother, but his mother was also an assassin. Most of the Cypher Pole agents are orphans that the government just kind of takes off the street and trains up to be super soldier assassins, okay? That's essentially how it goes. So they're they're all family, though, because that's like their one cohesive unit that's worked together for years and years, okay? They might bicker and argue every now and then, but at the end of the day, they all came together to try to save Rob Lucci's life, okay? Kaku and Jabra might not get along too much, but they're more of like, it's more of like a sibling rivalry rather than actual hatred between Jabra and Kaku. They kind of like make fun of each other and stuff. Okay, so you know, I think after they left and they were out on their own for a little while, they really liked that. They liked the idea of like, hey, we're free. We don't have to fight anymore, you know? We're assassins, but we don't have to do that. We can just live our lives. But then they were also smart enough to realize they could just not escape the government. And the government eventually caught up to them. And they're like, okay, if we really want to be freed from this, if we really want to be out of the game forever, we're going to have to join Aegis Zero and maybe destroy them from within or figure out some other way, fake our own deaths. We got to figure out something to do because we can't just leave. If we leave, the government's constantly going to be on our heels trying to capture us, okay? So I want to know, and this is the perfect point to find out, like maybe not right this moment, like in the next chapter, because, you know, things are kind of hot right now with the Seraphim firing lasers everywhere. But after the whole events of this is over, if Kaku and Lucci and Stussy really do leave Egghead with the Straw Hats. Like, they're just like, okay, well, you know, if we stuck around, we'd all die, so, yeah, let's just travel with you guys. Why not? This would be a really good point for Lucci or Kaku, probably Kaku, because he seems to be more talkative about all this, to actually explain what happened from after the end of the CP9 independent report to when they joined the Cypher Pool Aegis Zero. Like, what happened with that? Also, I mean, Stussy's already there. She's already an ally. She probably already has a lot of hot news when it comes to the government that she could relay to the Straw Hats and Vegapunk, but Lucci and Kaku are privy to a lot of information too. So after the events of Egghead, we might have a moment where it's like, okay, you know what, we're done. I'm not working for the government anymore. I quit. You know, I'm tired of this. You know, they tried to kill us the first time with the Buster Call. They didn't care we were there, and now they're sending Seraphim after us, even though we're Aegis Zero. We're supposed to be the most prestigious Cypher Pool agency, and they're still sending Seraphims to come kill us. You know what? We're done. We're done working for the government. We're on our own. And maybe Kaku and Lucci and Stussy, they just spill the beans and they just tell the Straw Hats everything about the government or anything specifically they would want to know. It's like, you know what? You want to know what the government knows about the ancient weapons? Okay, Nico Robin, come over here, sit down. We'll tell you everything. We don't even care anymore. You know what I mean? It could be something like that. It could be something like that. It's also important to mention, and I brought this up during the review, that, you know, Lucci and Kaku, yes, they're the Straw Hats' enemies. Yeah, they fought at Eni's lobby. There might be a bit of a grudge there. Remember when Lucci was fighting Luffy earlier in the arc, and Stussy was just like, hey, Lucci, you're not allowed to just fight Straw Hat Luffy. He's one of the emperors now, okay? You need to get approval from the higher-ups. And Lucci's just like, huh. He's not, I don't consider him an emperor. He's not my Yonko. I didn't vote for him. You know, like, so there's a little bit of a grudge there, maybe. And, yeah, but it's not like outright hatred. I would not say that Lucci hates Luffy. I would not say that Kaku hates Zoro. You know what I mean? Like, on some visceral level. It's more of just, like, a little bit upset that they defeated each other. Actually, you know what? I wouldn't even say Kaku, dislikes Zoro, to be honest with you. Remember how that fight ended? The fight between Kaku and Zoru ended at Eni's lobby on kind of a positive note. Zoro wins, of course. You know, he slices down Kaku, he lands, and Zoro kind of looks over to him and says, hey, by the way, your boss told me that you were fired. Because Paulie, you know, is like, oh yeah, your boss Paulie over at Galila, he told me to give you a message. And Kaku's like, oh, Paulie, huh? What's the message? He's like, you're fired. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, so it seemed like he felt a little bit of regret there for betraying everybody at Galila. Like, it was his job at the end of the day. He did it, but he's like, man, if I could have just stayed working at Galila, I wouldn't really have hated that all too much. It's like their whole lives, all known is to be assassins and duplicitous spies that, like, you know, it's like, okay, you're gonna go work in Water 7 for 4 years undercover, and that's all they've known. So the closest thing that the Cypher Pool 9 agents have to, like, a normal life is when they have to go deep cover and assume an identity. But they might have actually liked that. You know, I made a joke a while ago that imagine if Kaku and Lucci woke up after Stussy knocks them out and they have amnesia because the whole Big Mom thing and then the Sabo thing, and just like, what if they had amnesia and they thought they were still members of Galley-La? But you know what? You don't even need to go that far with it. What if the conclusion to Lucci and Kaku's story is after the government, after the Tenryubito system is abolished, and then the Gorosei are taken care of, and Im is taken care of, and the revolution occurs and everything like that? What if Lucci and Kaku literally are just like, okay, what do we do now? And it's like, I don't know. Like, what do you want to do? And it's like, you know what? Honestly, I really liked being a carpenter. I really liked being a shipbuilder. They have all the knowledge. They weren't just pretending. They genuinely know how to build ships and build them well. That is one of their skill sets that they learned in order to become a carpenter. You can't just walk into Galley-La and just be like, I don't know any, I'm a new guy in town. How you doing? I got a pigeon I talk to. I don't know anything about carpentry, but I would like to work for the most prestigious carpentry a shipbuilding factory in all of Water 7. It's like, sure, you got a job. No, they had to learn this stuff beforehand and then hone it on the job. So they know how to do all this stuff, right? Kaku genuinely, when he gave the assessment of the Going Merry, he wasn't just blowing smoke. He actually knew what he was talking about, all right? So what if Kaku's like, you know what? I want to go back to working in Water 7. And he's like, okay, and then they go back, and then they apologize to Iceberg, and is like, sorry for trying to kill you, and Iceberg's like, well, I guess it's all water under the bridge now. Anyway, you could come back to work. I love Iceberg. I love the way he talks. It's like, well, you know how it goes. All right, then. So, yeah, I mean, like, sure, why not, okay? Or after the alliance ends, after they defeat the Seraphim or maybe get away from Egghead or escape Kizaru or whatever, they just decide, you know what, we're going to go our own separate ways. Bye. Stussy might very well stay with the Straw Hats because she's an ally of Vegapunk, but Kaku and Lucci are gone. And like, we're going to go rendezvous with Jabra and Khalifa and Blue and O, and we're going to figure out something to do. You guys have fun. Okay, right. Anyway. And I think it's really like, yeah, Luffy and Zoro had that like disgusted impression in the last chapter because it's like, we got to work with these guys now. But, like, I feel like they're going to get over that really quick. Luffy can be very childish sometimes. It's just like, wait, he's our enemy. We were fighting him. Now we have to fight with him. Oh, okay, whatever. But, I feel like if Lucci and Luffy were working together in their awakenings, Luffy goes Gear 5th, Lucci goes into his awakened leopard form, I think they could pull off some really cool attacks, like combo moves together, especially since, Lucci just saw Gear 5th for the first time, but they fought each other. They know their moves for the most part, right? So Lucci could have a thing where he's like, Straw Hat, use that move you used to beat me at Ennie's Lobby. It's like, oh yeah, this, Jet Gatling, and then they work together to like combo attack. Like, I don't know, Lucci uses a technique similar to that, like Leopard Gatling or something, and then they attack together. That'd be cool. Kaku uses 4-sword style, Zoro uses 3-sword style, so what if they're just like, okay, Roronoa, I'm gonna use 4 swords, you use 3 swords, we'll use 7-sword style, and Zoro's just like, I can use 9, It's like, okay, then you use 9, 13-sword style! Oh, okay, that's badass. That's cool. Zoro goes into Ashura. Kaku uses 4. I suck at math, so let me just make sure so I'm not making an ass out of myself. Okay. Let's see. Okay, 9 plus 4. Yeah, it equals 13. Okay, yeah. 13 sword style. All right. Oh, and to make it even better with a cherry on top, let's do 13 sword style against S-Hawk. Oh, yeah, because right now I believe S-Snake is fighting against Frankie and Usopp's group. S-Bear and S-Hawk are in the control room attacking the CP0 right now. We don't know where S-Shark is at. We don't know where Jinbei's Seraphim is. Also, there might be other Seraphim in the lab because they're based off of the 7 Warlords. We haven't seen Doflamingos yet. We haven't seen Crocodiles yet. We haven't seen Morias yet. So there are other Seraphim. Maybe they're not built yet or they're still in the prototype phase. Like they're only like half built. Like they're running through a lab and you see S-Gecko or S-Bat. And S-Bat is there, but he's only like half of his body is built. He's not there yet. So it could be a situation like that, but there might be other Seraphims that might be activated, right? maybe activating a Seraphim is a whole process. You know, like the reason these 4 Seraphim are the ones being controlled like a game of hot potato between all the groups is because they were already activated. They're all ready to go. Okay, there might be other ones in the lab like, oh yeah, we're finished with S. Flamingo. He's ready to fight. It's just he's in a different part of the lab. He's in the testing facility because we never activated him because it's like he's never done like, you know, combat tests before. But you could activate him, right? Maybe. Who knows? God, Doflamingo's Seraphim would be terrifying. Now, I guess the bigger question here is not so much like all the cool combo attacks that they could do, or if they stay allies after, or how well they work together, but more of like, okay, would Lucci, Kaku, and Zoro working together be able to defeat S-Bear and S-Hawk? And I would say yes, they would be able to. I mean, Zoro clashed with S-Hawk earlier and made a mention that like, okay, I guess, well, he actually just kind of said like, oh, you're a little bit more human than you let on. I don't think S-Hawk is anywhere near Mihawk's level. Okay, keep in mind though, the Seraphim are still kids, and it was mentioned that when they grow, you know, to adults and they're stronger, you know, their like strength is truly terrifying right here. You know, remember how it worked with the Germa, where they had like their, they mentioned it was like a shell or something they shed, like a cocoon or something, right? And then they grew into their adult bodies that way. It was like some weird process, okay, where like they were kids and they had this weird cocoon and then they, you know, had their adult bodies afterwards, okay, because they were like genetically modified or something, right? So it might be like that with the Seraphim or something. I'm not really sure how it would work with them, but they might be able to defeat them right now in their current states, but then later when the Seraphim gets stronger, maybe not. Also, keep in mind, Pythagoras brought up in the last chapter after they fought against S-Snake and she, you know, turned York into stone and then fired the lasers and they fell down. They mentioned, Frankie said, oh, maybe I should return fire. Should I, you know, attack back, you know, use my radical beam? And Pythagoras was like, you have to be careful. We literally built these things to be the strongest human weapons in history, all right? Seriously, these things are crazy powerful, all right? And it is true that up until this point, we've never really seen the Seraphim, you know, like really exerting themselves to their maximum limit or anything. Partly because they have these very stoic expressions no matter where they go for the most part. You know, every time, you know, like they're fighting, even though they might be, you know, being pushed back or attacked by somebody else, their expressions are usually like, you know, or maybe like at best. So we've never really seen them like to the brink of like, all right, let's see what they can really do here, okay? 13 sword style, Lucci and Luffy teaming up. So, yeah, and I think Luffy and Lucci working together, they'll probably handle S-Bear, you know, and trying to, you know, deal with him. Also, the fact that, you know, the Seraphim was working with the Cypher Pole Zeros, so Lucci would probably have a good idea of what S-Bear is capable of, so he might be able to warn Luffy, be like, hey, Luffy, watch out for this move, watch out for this attack. And Luffy's like, I already fought against Kuma, I already know how to fight. I already know how to deal with him. And Lucci's like, okay, fine, whatever. You know, just like, yeah. Lucci is, Kaku is definitely, like I said, the more talkative one. Lucci's personality, I've always been interested that, like, okay, he usually keeps him, like, the very calm and cool demeanor. He doesn't talk very much, and when he does, it's usually very serious. But we see him capable of expressing, like, surprise. Like, we saw him express surprise when Stussy attacked Kaku and everything like that. He's like, what? You know, we saw that. So, I don't know. Seeing these more, like, human sides of Rob Lucci is always interesting to me. To, like give you the idea that, like, dude, he was raised to be an assassin since he was a little kid. All right, a lot of his emotions have been suppressed. Even when he became a member of Gale La, he had to express himself through ventriloquism through Hattori, which, by the way, we still don't know where Hattori's at. Letting you know, we don't know. I don't think he came back in the last chapter. I don't know. I'd have to double check. Hold on. Let me double check if he came back after Lucci woke up. Because if not, I'm telling you what, that bird is somewhere in the lab, and he's up to something. No, I don't see him on Lucci's shoulder. No, he left. Okay, so it could be a situation where Luffy, Lucci, Kaku, and Zoro team up. They're about to defeat the Seraphim. They think they've won, and then that's when S-Bear gets up for the final attack, and then Hattori swoops in at the last moment and deals the final piece of damage to S-Bear and knocks him out for good. Yeah, that's how it's going. I've seen weirder stuff. I once saw an animated bullet take out a giant jelly marine. Yep. Yeah, I've seen things. Anyway, so, yeah, I think together they can defeat them, but then it's going to be this awkward moment after the battle where, you know, Luffy and Lucci kind of look at each other and like, so, guess we got to be on the same team now if we want to get out of this lab alive. And Lucci's like, I guess so, Straw Hat, I suppose. You know, it's really crazy because I did not expect this happening, really. Like, Oda is a genius with this, where it's like you think it's just going to be a rehash of Enies Lobby and Water 7, where it's like, yeah, Luffy's going to fight Lucci again. Luffy's going to beat him again. And he does. Okay, well, what else are they going to do for this arc? It's like, no, have them become allies. It's like, yeah, you know what? I think that works, you know? It wouldn't have worked with every single One Piece villain. Like I said, it would not have worked with, like, Arlong or Hody, like, teaming up with the Straw Hats. Like, I do not see any universe where Arlong is like, all right, Straw Hat, I suppose we gotta work together because of this common threat. Yeah, I don't see that happening in any capacity, okay? Dofi's more of a wild card. We saw him working with Crocodile before during Marineford. Who else? You know, I don't see Luffy teaming up with Big Mom or Kaido or anything like that. Kaido is honestly a little bit more believable than Big Mom, but Big Mom, I don't see that at all. So, yeah, but with Rob Lucci and Kaku, they have a lot of other stuff going on in the background right now. Like, I can tell that they probably don't want to work for the government for the rest of their lives. They don't have some deep-seated, like, you know, vendetta against the Straw Hats, like, we're gonna make sure the Straw Hats are dead no matter what. You know, it's not really about that, you know, and it's like, okay, you know what? I'm not fond of you, Luffy. I'm not fond of you, Zoro, but, like, I don't want to die. The government's attacking us. Screw this. Let us go and let us help you. All right. So we'll see where this goes. It'll be a fun battle. I really want to see some nice combo attacks from this. But anyway, that's the video. Hope you guys all enjoyed. This will be Teching 101 signing out. But first, we have one more final installment of RHINO Facts. All right, and so today we're going to be ending it out with the last of the rhino species to discuss. We're talking about the black rhino. Currently, the black rhino is critically endangered. Their habitat, just like every other habitat of a rhino, has shrunk considerably. Mostly they live in southern Africa, so around South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, that general region there. There are 8 subspecies to the black rhino that are known. However, 3 of them are confirmed to be extinct. There is one subspecies. And if you're ever just talking about probably the single rarest rhino ever, it's probably this one. It's called the Chobe rhino, C-H-O-B-E. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. Chobe rhino. And as far as we're not even 100% sure on this, but there may, in fact, it's either extinct, just straight up extinct, but it's possible there may be one surviving member. And if there's only one surviving member, then that basically means it's going to go extinct anyway. But there may be one single member of the Chobe black rhino species living in Botswana. Maybe like somebody saw something like, oh, that's one of those rare rhinos, but we don't know. So it could be extinct, period, or there might be one member left. So if you're talking about like one of the rarest, probably the single rarest rhino, like individually in the entire world, it's probably the single Chobe rhino. They grow pretty big, 55 to 71 inches tall. They can weigh upwards of 3,000 pounds. However, there's some cases where unusually large males can grow to over 6,000 pounds. That's over 3 tons of rhino. It's insane. They have 2 horns. However, they may in fact grow a 3rd horn at some point. By the way, it's funny that this is the last episode of RHINO Facts and we're finally getting around to this, but do you know what the horn is for? Like, you would probably assume, like, intimidation and mating and stuff, and that is true, but there's another reason it exists, and it's because when they're feeding, the horn actually helps dig up the ground and especially break through really tough roots. So, yeah, there's a lot of, you can look at a lot of animals, like mammals that existed, you know, like that are extinct right now that lived like millions and millions of years ago. There was a type of elephant that had like a shovel kind of like tusk that was meant for like literally digging up the soil and eating like the roots and stuff underneath and like bugs and stuff, okay? So, yeah, if you look into like really old, like, I don't know, Cretaceous era animals, they have like weird like shovel kind of like appendages to dig through. And we still see that in the rhino. Also, the rhino's like tough hide, that's also for practical purposes because there's a lot of like birds and then insects like mites and mosquitoes that live in Africa that would try to like, bite the rhinos. So good luck trying to get like a mosquito's proboscis through this super tough steel rhino hide. So there you go. Evolution. All right. But yeah, that's the stuff about the black rhino I have for you today, and that concludes Rhino Facts. Once again, the IRF link is in the description below if you would like to go and donate to the International Rhino Foundation. This was a very educational animal facts. This might be one of my favorite ones. There was a lot of really good animal facts we've covered, but this one was pretty good. So I hope you guys will join me on the next episode of Animal Facts. Letter S. There was a lot of ones I wanted to discuss with this one, but I think we're just going to go ahead with snake facts. I wanted to do spider facts, but, some people might legitimately have arachnophobia, and the spider facts might freak them out. I think less people are scared of snakes than spiders. Spiders really freak people out. I love them, but anyway, snake facts are pretty cool, so we'll talk about some snakes next time. Thanks for watching. Teching, signing out.